Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2022 Mazda CX-5, we're going to be showing you how to install the Curt Trailer Hitch Receiver. But before we do that, why don't we check it out and make sure that this hitch is going to work for you. When it comes to the CX-5, you know, people are using these to do a lot of different stuff, whether it's pulling your trailer around or using accessories like a bike rack or a cargo carrier. You know, if it were me and I was wanting a hitch, I'd want something that would be able to do it all. And this one's going to do just that. You can use it to tow or use it for those accessories. And something else that would come to my mind is I want something that's going to look good. These are really sharp SUVs actually. You know, they have some really nice lines to them. And so I wouldn't want a big bulky hitch hanging down here looking ugly, sticking out like a sore thumb. And that's really not the case at all with this one. For the most part, it's going to be completely hidden. You're just going to see the receiver tube opening there. So I think it looks pretty good. To be honest with you, I'm kind of partial to the etrailer.com one. It has more of a matte black finish as opposed to this one. It's kind of a gloss black finish, but that's just my opinion, and everyone has different taste and style. So at least you got a couple different ones to choose from. With this being a class 3 hitch, it is going to have that 2" by 2" receiver tube opening. This is an extremely common size. A lot of different accessories are going to work with it. At the end of it, there's a reinforced collar to add a little bit of extra strength. And it is going to use that standard 5/8 pin and clip. Keep in mind though, pin and clip don't come with the hitch. If you need one, you can always grab it right here at eTrailer. The safety chain openings are going to be a loop style, pretty thick steel actually, and they're going to give us more than enough space to use just about any size hook that your trailer might have. As far as the hitch's weight capacities go, it's going to have some pretty high numbers. It's going to have a 600-pound maximum gross tongue weight rating, and that's going to be the amount of weight that's pushing down on the hitch. That'll be good for just about any size bike rack or cargo carrier that you'd like to use, for example. As far as the hitch's maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, that's going to be 4,000 pounds. And that's going to be the amount of weight that is pulling on the hitch. So the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. And I do always like to suggest, though, it's never a bad idea just to grab your Mazda's owner's manual. That way you can make sure your CX-5 can pull that much weight safely. And with all that said, if you are going to be pulling a trailer around, you're going to want the lights to work on it. You know, that way people around you know what's going on and you'll stay safe and legal. And to accomplish that, you can always pick up some trailer wiring. Now I'm going to give you a couple of measurements, and you can use these to help figure out which hitch-mounted accessories are going to work best. From the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, that's going to be about 13 inches. And if you plan on doing some towing, chances are pretty good you're going to need to get a ball mount that has a rise in the shank. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, that's going to be about 3 inches, and you can use that measurement to help figure out that if any folding accessories you might have can be stored in that upright position without contacting the bumper. So I do want to address one of the big questions that it seems like a lot of people are asking, and that is, you know, how is this hitch going to stack up or compare to some of the others? And honestly, visually speaking, they're all going to be really similar, you know, for the most part hidden, really being able to only see the center receiver tube opening here. And it's really just going to come down to your personal preference, which one, you know, you like the most. I will say one thing, the draw tight hitch, it is going to have a little bit higher weight ratings. So if you're someone that's planning on primarily pulling a trailer, a heavy trailer around, kind of pushing the limits a little bit, you know, that hitch might put your mind at ease a little bit more, having those higher ratings. So something to think about as well. But other than that, at the end of the day, you know, it's just going to really boil down to your personal preference and what one you like the best. But as far as getting the hitch installed, really not too bad. Nothing's really super complicated. Everything's pretty easy to get to, so really shouldn't run into too many issues or anything like that. But if you'd like to see how that's done, feel free to follow along. We'll go ahead and put the hitch on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here underneath the back of our Mazda. And what we're going to need to do is lower the exhaust on some and give us some room to work. So prior to doing that, I like to take a strap and just run it from side to side. That way we can kind of control how fast and how far we let our exhaust come down. So to get the exhaust down, we're going to have a total of 4 rubber isolator hangers, so 2 on each side. One there, one there. Obviously the other side of our vehicles could be set up the exact same way, but to get these off, you can spray them down with some lubricant, soapy water, or whatever you got. And we're going to take a pry bar, and we need to pry one end of the hanger off. Usually really doesn't matter what end you go with, whichever one's easier. So I'll just continue to kind of work this off here, and usually once you get one of them off, the other ones get easier, you know, as everything loosens up and whatnot. Kind of swing this up and out of the way. And do the same thing for other remaining hangers. So once you have all the hangers removed, you can go ahead and loosen up the strap and let the exhaust come down a little ways. Once we have the exhaust lowered, now we can move right underneath the edge of our bumper here. We're going to have this piece of plastic that will interfere with the hitch, so we're going to remove it. Pretty straightforward. There's a push pin fastener like this on each side of it. Just use a flathead to kind of pry it out. And then up in here, this opening, there's a little tab you can kind of pry on and lower it down. So have a better look at it there. I was just kind of pulling out on it. So get this out of the way. Probably not going to be reinstalling it. I believe it looks like it's not going to fit once our hitch is up there. Not really a big deal though. With that little piece out of the way, I want to take out a couple of fasteners too that kind of help secure our bottom of our bumper. And I'm doing this so we have a little more space when we go to put the hitch up. So pry that one out as well as this one. And then that'll let us kind of flex our bumper, hopefully give us a little bit of extra space to get the hitch up there. Now if you look on the side of our frame rail, we're going to have a wire that runs through there and is attached to it. We just need to kind of pop that off. That way it doesn't interfere with the hitch. So you can just take a flathead screwdriver, kind of work it behind it there. And pry it out. And if we look, we're going to have 2 attachment points. One of them will be up here towards the back of our vehicle. There'll probably be a piece of tape on it. So I'm just going to use a scraper to get that tape removed. And if you happen to have any extra sealer, this gray stuff that's on the side here, while you're at it, go ahead and scrape that off too. That way it doesn't interfere with getting the hitch up. Thankfully it comes off pretty easy, so. The other attachment point is going to be back here. So there's another piece of tape. Scrape that off. And again, any extra sealer that might be in the way, just go ahead and get that removed. With this side done, we're going to go ahead and repeat that same process over on the other side. So after kind of looking a little bit harder, it looks like we might need just a little bit extra room where our wire comes down here to get the hitch up. So I'm just going to pop out the other two. And if you have a trim tool like this one, it makes it easier to get these out. So I'm just going to pry these couple out, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of our vehicle. And matter of fact, from this point on, anything we do to this side, we'll also do to the other side because it'll be set up the same way. So now we can go over our attachment points and the hardware we're going to use. So for this one back here, it's going to be a weld nut actually. So there's a nut welded to the inside of the frame with threads on it. And you're going to use your bolt and a conical tooth washer. Make sure that the teeth on the washer are going to face this way towards the hitch. So when your hitch is up there, you're simply just going to thread that in. Even though these holes are covered, it's not a bad idea. You know, if there's some junk built up in there, you can spray in some penetrating oil, take a toothbrush like this, and clean those threads out. For the attachment point back here, chances are pretty good. Yours will be set up the same way ours is, with just an empty hole. Some cases you might have a weld nut in there. If you do, just use that same hardware combination that we just talked about for the hole closest to the front. But like I said, chances are pretty good. Yours will be set up the same way ours is. And if that's the case, what you're gonna do is take a fish wire, take the coiled end of it, and push it through until it comes out of that larger hole. Then you can take the carriage bolt and a spacer block and thread it onto the fish wire and feed the hardware up into the frame. What you want to do is pull out on it, make sure it comes out good and everything. And since our hitch is going to come up here on the side, we don't want this to be in the way. So I'm just going to push that barely back into the frame rail. That way it don't interfere with the hitch. Once the hitch is up there, then we can pull on the wire and put the nut on. Now we can kind of prep our hitch, I guess you could call it. So hitch is going to come with 4 flat washers, 1 for each attachment point. And on the inside of the flange, you could take some tape. I use packing tape, and just tape that washer to where it lines up with the hole in the hitch. Makes it a lot easier just to keep it on there instead of trying to fight it while we're holding it above our head and everything else. Obviously, once you tape it, you want to punch out the center so we can get our bolts through there. Kind of just a quick pointer as well. The exhaust hanger here closest to the back, make sure that it's connected to the hanger up top here. Because what can happen is once you get your hitch up there, let's say if you left this on the muffler portion, right? Once you get your hitch up there, you don't have a lot of room, and it's really troublesome to get this back on this top hanger. So makes it a little bit easier. Make sure to have those on that portion. So now at the next set of hands, we can grab our hitch and take your pull wire, push it through like that. And it's gonna take a little finesse to kind of get this in here. Probably have to kind of pull on your fascia and you kind of work it up over the exhaust. And then once you get it into place, you should be able to pull out on our bolt there, and the weight of the hitch should support it. Once you have it like that though, you can remove that fish wire, take a flange nut, and get it started hand tight. So with the hitch, held up, we'll go ahead and line up our other attachment point here. Sometimes these can be kind of tricky. You just have to kind of move the hitch around and make sure it's getting started good. Once you got all the hardware in and hand tight, you can come back with a 19 millimeter or 3/4 inch socket and snug everything down. At this point, you need to make sure and get a torque wrench and tighten all the hardware down to the amount specified in the instructions. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can get one here at eTrailer, or a lot of times go to your local auto parts store and they'll have one there available to rent. So I went ahead and took the wiring that we undid and kind of just reconnected it by pushing the holders back into the frame. For up here, obviously our hitch is blocking that spot, so they give you a couple of zip ties and you can just zip tie that wiring to the side plate of your hitch. That way it keeps it up and out of the way. At this point, you can raise our exhaust back up into position. This time I'm just gonna do it by hand. Definitely helps to re-lubricate the hangers again. And we'll just slide everything back into place. And once the exhaust is supporting itself again, go ahead and get our strap removed. Back here to the edge, you probably remember we took this piece off. Obviously isn't gonna fit, so no big deal. But I am going to put these push pins back in through here to help keep bumper secured. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Curt Trailer Hitch Receiver on our 2022 Mazda CX-5.